What's good, everybody? I'm Balcony. Thank you so much for joining me here at my channel on Balcony's Alchemy. And today we are going to be talking about a divine system, the divine system of astrology. I'll say that, right? But we're also going to be discussing a system that I've developed that works within astrology. I'm calling it Numerical Astro-Alchemy. Numerical Astro-Alchemy. Numerical Astro-Alchemy. I had to hit him with Umar. That shit must be, hey, patterns, all right? Numerical Astro-Alchemy, though, to make it solid, right? It's a system that works within astrology. It basically takes the numerical value of the astrological houses that we look at in different aspects. There are thousands of aspects and ways to look at the combination of the astrological houses, right? Now, also when I say houses, it's probably more commonly known as the zodiacs, right? But there's a house system that accompanies the zodiac, basically where the zodiacs are from, right? It's just like anybody, like there's a little bit of you in where you're from, or there's a little bit of where you're from in you, you know? So with that being said, though, when you take the numerical value of these houses and you add them, there is an alchemical process that happens, and there's new intel because these energies formulate sometimes another space or energy within the astrological field, right? We'll see that in a bit. I'm gonna give some examples, right? Sometimes it goes back to the same aspect as well, just showing how when the energies together basically combine, what is leading to. Okay, now I've said it a lot. I've said this a couple times before in some other videos as well, and I could keep talking about it, but I'd rather give like examples so we can kind of get into the experience of this system that I have that I want to share, that I've been called to share. All right, so now, when it comes to astrology, there are 12 astrological houses, right? Again, we commonly associate them with the zodiac. So, I want to talk about the hidden alchemy, okay? So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking the value of the numbers of 1 through 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all and up, and we're going to add them, okay? So when you add 1 through 12, you're going to come up to the number 78. Okay, and it's very interesting because in astrology, I'm going to go through the 12 houses in a bit, right? But let me just talk about this. There's a 7 and there's an 8, right? So if we look at the energetic signatures of the 7 and the 8, 7 is going to be resonant with the 7th house of relationships, choices, decisions. It's the scales of Libra, right? We got some choices and some decisions to make. What's interesting, though, about those decisions and choices that we make, right, is it leads to the 8th house, right? 7, 8. 8th house is the house of inheritance, destiny, fortune. You get in your just dues, right? So if you choose door number 2, Libra, 7th house, you're about to inherit the reveal of what's behind it. That's the 8th house, right? So these are two very dynamic principles. Even in further explaining or adding to the fact that I've heard before, like, life is basically just a series of choices that lead to your destiny. Now, that's empowering for a lot of different reasons, because A is letting you know, all right, the choices that you made that kind of got you here, right? And we all reserve the power to change our minds. Thank God relationships aren't fixed fucking energy, because some of y'all be acting like they are. I've been there too. I've been a clinger. Okay? Shout out to all my exes who showed a bitch not to be so possessive. Okay? I would give you some bars, but I'm not going to give you all of that right now, right? I'm going to keep it funky. Onto the topic, right? But the point is, though, you get the option to choose relationships. You get the option to take the initiative and to take the lead into the direction of where you want that relationship to go. Don't ever forget that. That's a very empowering thing. Your choice, right? Your voice, your choice, right? Sound like a goddamn politician, but that's some Libra energy for you. It is what it is, right? The 8th house. Inheritance. This also is empowering to let you know as well that it's your choice that leads you to the things that you inherit. Now, in certain cases, you know, certain things are just bestowed upon you, right? Like if your dad had a nest egg for you, or you like a trust fund kid or some shit like that, boom, you had money waiting, right? Some of us did. Papa was a rolling stone. I'm not, no, sorry. Well, he wasn't technically that, you know, but he got around. Well, what? We come up with different songs for different reasons. But, yeah, I'm a little silly, if you can't tell. Point being, though, right? Certain things are bestowed upon us. We just inherit, right? My country ass accent, that come from the folks around me. They country, I'm country too, okay? These are things that we inherit, right? So, generational curses, shit like that, right? Sometimes, you know, you just could not help the circumstances that you were born into, right? So these are the things that you're going to be inheriting, right? Good, bad, whatever those things may be, right? That's true. However, there's also, in fairness, this aspect of the choices that you make, right, are truly what's going to lead you to your destination. So don't let nobody swap your destiny out and tell you who the fuck you finna be. No, that's not how that work, right? But it's interesting because both of these energies are external. First to the 6th house, internal aspects of astrology, you've got more to do with that than anything, right? What you create and work on, versus the 7th through the 12th house, I should say, sorry, 7 through 12. This is the external, where the thoughts and feelings of other people will kind of affect the trajectory of the ultimate outcome of things. And this is true. Teamwork makes the dream work. And there is no I in team, right? It's a collective thing that we do to experience this world. I even heard a guy one time who was like completely like antisocial. He had like a completely antisocial personality. He had no desire to really formulate significant relationships, and he was going to therapy about it. And that's basically what he said that he was sharing. Okay, no HIPAA violations, right? He was totally displaying this information to share, right? But he said something very interesting. He was like, although I am antisocial, I understand that I can't run the bakery and the mill and be a lawyer and a doctor, you know, and clean this motherfucker up. I can't do all this shit at once, all right? I need some assistance, and I appreciate that I live in a society, right? But that being said, okay, society is big. External energy is big. If you can be sometimes the only person in the room, and we've all felt like this, right? That you just knew that you might be the person on the hill by yourself, and then within a group, right? It happens. It's, you know, it's just life, right? It kind of would also make sense that in the same respect, there are times when people can swap out your destiny, right? They can tell you because of where you from or who you are or your background or nationality or your preference on this, right? They'll tell you a lot of shit about who you are. Don't believe them. They fucking lie. And you decide on who you want to be, your choices, your direction. God gave you this motherfucking power, okay? He gave us these systems as well that they do not want to teach us. But once you get into it, it shows you so much information about how truly calculated, okay, the creator is and was at offering the children of earth the support of the divine, okay? Because it's in the systems. We can just look up in the sky and just kind of learn the lessons that come along with it, okay? Sometimes I talk a little fast. I just noticed that, all right? But let me get back on point, right? Just the point of being, okay? The 7 and the 8 energetic frequency is very much about you being empowered to understand your choices will lead you to the destiny that you ultimately inherit in life, right? And life is ultimately a series of choices and decisions that get you to that destiny, okay? That being said, though, we're not quite done with the alchemy, okay? Because the 7-8 is not the simplest form of what we can find. Really, in numerology, you just kind of add until you get to one single digit. But because of this particular way that I use the system, as long as you land between 1 and 12, somewhere on the astrology wheel, you're good. You don't need to produce anymore. But 7-8 is too big of a number, right? It will not land or fit on the astrology wheel. So let's reduce it one more time. When we add 7 plus 8, we're going to get 16. Okay, we're taking the 7 and the 8 because we were left with 78, because that's the sum of the first through 12 houses when we add each one house's value together. Now that we take the 7, 8, that gives us 15, my bad. That's going to give us 15, all right? Now there's a significance with this, okay? Okay, the 1 and the 5, all right? These are the energetic frequencies that we get. And the 1 and the 5, that's really you. These are the fire houses. This is going to be the firehouse of creativity, of self, of identity, of you initiating, of how you ascend at creating said thing, right? 5th house for your enjoyment. All right. So the things that, the theme of life again, right? The psychology that the 12th house is showing, right? Yes, life is a series of choices and decisions that you ultimately will inherit, right? You're going to see what's behind door number 3 if that's what you pick. Also, know that you, yourself, and what you entertained or may have enjoyed or may have made you feel good, right? This is contributing to the ultimate psychology of how you live your life. It ain't the devil. Although desire can be a beast, right? A lot of times it's not just outside influences that are like taking your life to where you want to go. And I understand like that need to want to try to reason with like things that are too difficult to process, that almost seem like bigger than what you can solely control, right? Oh God, Lord, the world just, up against me, right? And sometimes that can be the case, right? But sometimes you kind of help put yourself in these situations, right? Maybe you didn't have the right belief system in yourself, right? Maybe that's how you ended up at that job that's dead end and these loans that you gotta pay back and just not trusting yourself, right? It happens, but it happens because of course the system is designed. I don't want to like shit on anybody, right? Like I'm tapping out my energy like that. No. Whatever the motherfucking situation is, okay? I don't want to single out anyone specifically because this is about building us up, right? So we feel empowered by these systems, all right? Just the point is, right? I, myself, right? The mirror, okay? I have looked at myself and made choices and decisions that I enjoyed. I ascended at, I created it. Like, I created the situation and I just ultimately made a mess. And I did that partly because, I wasn't truly tapped into the understanding that my choices and decisions are what are leading me here, right? Because I was maybe making choices and decisions, right, based off things that made me feel good, but for external validation. It wasn't like it made me feel good. It was like, oh, they like me. That makes me feel good. But per se doing this, I don't know if I like this, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to explain, y'all, okay? Look, I'm still learning this shit. Just to share a vulnerable moment, right? But that's the point, right? The 1 and the 5 can contribute to the same energetic frequency of the 7 and the 8 when it just comes to the ultimate philosophy of the alchemy that is being unfolded here. Once we consider the value of the entire system, and we're going to go through the entire system, okay, in just a bit, all right? Like I said, this might be one of the only astrology videos that you'll ever need to watch to get a good synopsis of how the 12 houses come together and all work as far as describing the psychology that we experience here on Earth, right? Because here's the thing too, when it comes to psychology, there's just, as unique as we are as individuals, there are some things collectively that we just experience. We know what it's like to want to get something started. We know what it's like to really truly assess how valuable something is, depending on how bad we want it, right? Our desire to acquire it. We know what it's like to go out and get intel and learn about things, right? To fall on your face when you try to do it, to hope and wish and just, be very optimistic for the future of what it is, right? For the changes to suddenly happen to you, just to be like, oh shit, I'm caught off guard. But, this is kind of what you wanted, right? We've all had these moments as a collective in our own unique different ways. And this is what the astrology is kind of showing, that we all just collectively have such an agree that this is, love is an aspect of life. Ambition is an aspect of life, right? Learning and education is an aspect of life. Worldly experiences, right? And sometimes when we're in a world, we could both be all sharing an experience, but my experience can be completely different than that of somebody else's, based off of the human biases when I come into places, right? Just based off natural, attraction and things like that, right? Or opportunities, so yeah, I mean, all kind of there's a calculated system, right? But there's a lot of randomness because spirit is very random, okay? The bird flies basically, right, until you see a penguin. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of randomness and just kind of like, ways that God communicates that although there is a calculated system, I am the I am, and I can show up in many different forms, right? In any type of form. So given that the grace of what it is, right? All I'm just trying to say is basically like our philosophy is going to be very unique, okay? We might be the penguin sometimes when all the other fucking birds are flying, okay? But we're still the bird, okay? We're still got the feathers to prove it, all right? We are still, you know, children. We are still the children of God. And as a collective, right, we're still having a certain experience. So that's really the point, right? This is what philosophy kind of helps answer these questions that we all kind of have wonderings about, all right? Now, I just went to the astrological aspect and explained how the 7th and the 8th house have a resonance along with the 1st and the 5th house when it comes to your choices, how in your life being a series of these choices, and ultimately the inheritance of said decisions, right? You get to see what's behind door number B based off the choice that you made, okay? However, 15 is not the simplest form that we're going to see on the astrology wheel, because 15 doesn't appear on the wheel, right? We need to get a number between 1 and 12, right? So once we add 1 plus 5, we're at 6. So the true alchemy, right, when it all breaks down, the ultimate resonance and feature of the 12 houses of philosophy, right, that govern the transit of the heavens and also influence the people and beings of earth, is 6. And I think it's fascinating, right? Because 6 is going to be the 6th house. This is Virgo, the Virgin, right? Also known as the Virgin Mother, Mother Mary, okay? But she's also the mutable Earth house, okay? Which is very pretty much descriptive of Earth, right? Earth is always going through some changes, right? Places that you grew up in are not looking the same as you're an adult, right? If you haven't seen that yet, you know, Gen Z, I think that's y'all, right? It'll happen, okay? But definitely like your face, things change. Earth changes through the seasons, right? Like summer's completely different from fall, which is completely different from winter, okay? That being said though, lost train of thought for just a second. Yes, that being said though, 6 is where it's at. This is gonna be Virgo. And shout out to the Virgos, okay? It shouldn't be shit throwing me mouth when it comes to Virgo, because that's my sun sign, okay? Shout out to Virgo. Virgo is going to be ruled in the 6th house, okay? So let me talk about the house system of Virgo. This is the 6th house. This is also the internal house of health and service. Basically, this lets us know too, when it comes to the just this whole fucking setup, right? If all of astrology is going to, when you add it all together, alchemize to a 6, right? God then set up something that wants to be supportive, okay? This earth, right, that grows our food, that gives us our shelter, okay, that also provides medicine for us, right? And the 6th house is the house of health, right? Boom. Okay. Very 6th house of you, okay, Mother Earth. But of all these things, right, that the earth offers, one of the cool things about the 6th house is that Mercury is here, okay? And Mercury is the observer. Mercury is the house that's going to gather intel because it sits so close to the sun. It sees the most, right? It also retrogrades the most as well because it's willing to have an additional level of introspection just to kind of process all this intel that it's getting, right? And that's in most cases how information works, how what we learn works, right? And Virgo has this planet influencing it, okay? With that being said though, right, Mother Earth will unlock some wonderful shit if you're willing to learn, if you're curious enough to ask questions, if you're willing to analyze and meditate on the things that are really working and can actually be useful for you, okay? There's plenty that you can use around here when it comes to Earth, okay? Let some bullshit happen. Ain't we looking around Earth? It's got to be something here, right? Why do we feel like that if God did not innately put this system in place for us to have this feeling, okay? What I'm saying is that there is a calculation that I've helped discover and I want to share with the world. And the system is called Numerical Astro-Alchemy. And I'm going to calm down a bit because sometimes I do get a little passionate, you know, little bit, right? I want to rein this in though, and I want to talk about the 12 houses, okay? I just think it's very serendipitous that the alchemy would truly break down to a 6, because Virgo's nature is to be supportive and helpful and caring, and be useful, right? And to be used, okay? Also, when I think about the psychology of humans, every motherfucking human at some point is in some state of assessing what they're using and what's useful. Don't ever forget that shit. Okay? You're either useful to a situation if you're involved in it, or you are being used. And it's a thin line, and it can go, you know, Virgo is a mutable house, right? Things are subject to change, okay? Also, if you find yourself in one of those places and you don't want to be used, you can change that, okay? And this is also to say too, right? For the users and the abusers and the folks who were poor Virgo to death. I said per Virgo. If you need some help, okay? I like to say Virgos come to support life, right? And be the motherfuckers who leave on life support. Just cause they just wanted to help every goddamn body, right? And that's how we do mama sometimes. That's how we do Mama Earth. We'll plant in the same place. We'll take all her resources. We'll, you know, make some bullshit concoctions and just throw it up in the goddamn river for a motherfucking turtle to get caught around their neck and some shit, right? We create all kind of fucking motherfucking problems for mama. She's like, okay, I reckon... stressing her out, okay? Virgo nerves bad to this day because of you and me. I take ownership too. I be worried. I be clogging up the prayer lines, okay, with my chatty ass. But okay, point is though, all right, the mother is here to provide, okay, and the mother should be used, right? But you don't want to use it until you use it up, okay? You want to make it funky like Bill. Is it Bill Mayweather? I think that's what you keep, you know, using me. I love that song, right? You want to definitely like use it, but if you use it up, right, will you be able to plan again? These are all things that you need to be observing and learning and thinking about, being very meditative, okay? Because the 6th house is very meditative, right? That's why you think Virgo do all this worrying and shit. It's constantly motherfucking thinking. It's constantly meditating. Meditating is kind of like, you know, and all that stuff like Zen and, you know, it is very like, let's get centered, but it can also be what you meditate on, what you constantly run the mental program around, okay? I told you I'm a Virgo and it's showing. The plight, man, of mutable Earth, okay? Like Earth is typically solid, right? When the motherfucker be worried and nervous a little bit, it's like Earth just started shaking. Anyway, I don't want to think about that because they had an earthquake the other day. I mean, people, that's crazy, okay? How about this though? If the Earth is moving, you want it to be calculated, analyzed on this moving, be able to anticipate it, right? And ultimately, you want her movements to be supportive of the health and service for folks, right? That's why the seasons as they move and they change, right? Spring is great for planting. Summer is great for the momentum of growing. Fall is great for like the harvest and the collecting. And winter, let me rest. Can I get 3 months and y'all not bother me for And that's okay. We let her rest. We let her do her thing, and then she come back right on time all the time. This is a calculated system that is designed to work for the good of us, right? As the alchemy shows as well, right? People will toss so much gaslighted bullshit at us about like this being random and, you know, and God really, you know, what are we really doing, right? When there's a whole fucking system that's been working, been proven, been tested, and I have been blessed to have researched it and come up with another system called Numerical, Astro-Alchemy. Shout out for my marketing capabilities, okay? I am going to mention this system a lot because I have not heard anyone speak of this yet in this capacity, and I just think that it adds a little bit more intel to a great system, the great scientific system of astrology, all right? Now, we're at 24 minutes. I'm going to run it real quick within like the next 5 minutes. I don't want videos to go longer than 30 minutes. So I'm going to run it real quick on the 12 astrological houses so we can see how this process works, right? So we're going to talk about your zodiac sign. Come to the table, come to the flow, you know? I'm going to talk about you in a good way, right? Let's talk about the first house. Now, this is when the sun, or when we look at the aspect of the first house, which is Aries. the first house of self, birth. We're planting seeds, basically, okay? Now, after winter time, right now, all of a sudden, the grass is just springing up, okay? Now, all of a sudden, the bugs is just popping out, right? It's like spring truly has like a sprung on you kind of start up to it. It's very motivated. It's energetic. It's got a lot of power behind it. We can feel the warmth of the sun kind of coming back around after the cold winter. So this is a great time if you want to start something new. This is truly the new year. You can look at the calendar's names, right? Like October, it's the 8th. It's 8. That's Scorpio season when it kicks off. October, it's 8. Anyway, I don't want to do that in this video. That'll take me too long. I just want to kind of keep it fucking get to the point of, I don't want to disprove anybody. And yeah, there's plenty of time for that, right? Today, let me just educate on the 12 house principle and how it works through our psychology, right? So because Mother Earth works like that, right, psychologically and internally, right, when we have our internal springs, it's a great time to get active with something new, right? So how do we start up something new? We've got to identify what we're doing, okay? If you're going to be gardening, you kind of want to know what seeds you're planting, okay? I did that one time. I was trying to grow some things from seeds and I forgot to label the shit. They never sprouted, so I never really, I mean, I would have just had to wait to see what would have happened, but I'm terrible right now. My green thumb just is not, it's pale. It's real faint green, like mint green. It's not, it's not giving like that green thumb, right? But that being said, you do want to identify, right? Because you want to know what you're doing, what you want to get into. If I'm going to sign a contract, let me know what this is. If I'm going to get into an agreement, interestingly enough, that's the opposite sign, 7th house, right? Partnerships that you take the long ways, right? You do want to know and identify and just kind of get the snapshot or picture of what this is, how things are going to ascend. That's your first house energy. This is Aries. And this is why Aries is spontaneous and courageous and the fire that it is, right? It's the cardinal fire. It's what kicks off spring, right? It's got the planet Mars also behind it. Mars is going to be there to support you with having the drive, right? If you need courage, Mars got your back. It's got the power. It's got the drive. It's got the motivation, okay? It's got that force to get things started. All of a sudden, lights, camera, action is go time, right? First house. So this is how the psychology works when we are initiating and getting started. Now, what happens next? We go into our second house, where now we're establishing the value based off desire to acquire and possess, right? I like to say this too. Don't let nobody play with you. Anytime somebody bringing something to you at the beginning and they be like, well, what's going on? And you ask more questions, you know, and shit like that. They be like, well, I don't know. Now, it's something in the form. Everybody is motivated to do things based off of the things that we identify we want to create because it's something that's valuable to us. There's either an idea that we want to possess, some other possession that we want to have. Maybe we're trying to get some money, whatever it is, right? It's something of value, okay? So early on when we're in our psychological processes, we are considering the value of said things. This is going to be the second house. This is going to be Taurus energy, and this is fixated earth, right? Where we're locked in with value. Think about money. Okay, that's definitely one thing that you're going to lock in, right? Or if you identify that you want to buy a house, right? How much is it going to cost, right? We need to lock in on that price and number so we can kind of be sturdy and patient like the bull, right? Like Taurus is, okay? Also, when it comes to value, value is something that we trust, right? It's something that we possess, and it's something that we want to also protect while profiting from, okay? So all these things are running through our psychological mind when we begin our beginnings. What's it truly worth? What will it cost? Right? Based off desires and things like Venus, right? So shout out to Venus. I always smile whenever I talk about Venus. Venus is desire, right? And desire is a... Okay, let me not do that because I don't want to come up with too many judgments. I have a Libra moon, okay? I totally love Venus, obviously, right? But desire can be one of those things too, that once you lock in on value and motivation, which is like the first and the second house, right? The Mars Venus aspect. Mars and Venus are always very, very close to one another when they transit the sky as well, right? Because your motivation and desires, right? I'm motivated to go towards the things that I desire. Now, is that smart all the time? Not necessarily, right? So we need to pack it up and not get too lost in our psychology yet. We need to visit the third house. We need to push it forward, okay? Let's think about this. Let's scan the environment. Let's observe. Let's see what we can learn. Let's ask some questions. Let's get very inquisitive and curious when it comes to the third house of communication. This is Gemini. This is cardinal era, okay? We're just getting intel. We're talking to folks. We're kind of wrapping it up with people. And these communications are helping us formulate our ideas, right? Now, again, I said it before, Mercury is very close to the sun. It also is the planet that retrogrades the most, because sometimes it's important to kind of go back over the things that you are learning, okay? Sometimes communications might change things, okay? Which is interesting, because the first time we see air, we see it in a mutable form. And ain't that like the wind, right? The breeze can hit you from the north, and just as soon as that hits you from the south, right? Until we get more of the breeze that we can kind of decide on which direction this strong breeze is coming from, right? But ultimately, right, breezes have the ability to go either way. Excuse me. Now, that's the air element, okay? And that's how communication goes, right? And also what's cool too about the third house is that it's a great time to just communicate, just to talk, just to, you know, swap ideas. It doesn't have to be the most profound, solid thing, right? It just needs to be enough intel to shed some more light about what's going on immediately that I can process, right? They can kind of help me out in the future as I continue the momentum to get from starting point of the philosophy, right, to the end, okay? Now, I got to the third house. Let's go ahead and get to the fourth house, right, of our process, of our creative process that we're experiencing. Fourth house, now I can pour those seeds that I began, right, that I got a little bit more information about, right? So I put the seed in the ground. I valued it. I took care of it. I didn't spend some money on it. I done learned what kind of soil I need, okay? Now let me water these roots. Because if I don't have strong roots, if I don't have a strong foundation, if I don't have my fourth house set up properly, I ain't gonna never really be able to do nothing with this, no way, right? You can't do nothing with no wilted, tilted plant, okay? I need this thing to stand up strong, okay, and have a strong foundation like that of the crab, the crustacean, Cancer here, okay? Now the moon is also the influential planet and depositor for the fourth house. So it's really about how you feel. And there's an intuitive nature that comes with the fourth house. This is also the home as well. So these are private matters. So sometimes when you're initially starting something, how you feel, you may hold that private. A lot of times when we're doing some shit, right, we don't always tell everybody what we're doing, right? We just, you know, can spring it up on them, right? Or sometimes when you really think and investigate how you're feeling, you almost need private time so that you can process the phases of it, right? Because sometimes, like at the beginning of that phase, like new moon, I felt like this. As things kind of was like more light was shed on something, I felt like that. Full illumination, now I'm feeling like this, right? You know, so these are, and you're allowed to, okay? The fourth house says you're allowed to. My homeboy calls it the first flood, right? But it's that first flood of emotions, right? But once you get that water to settle at its level, okay, and things set up as the momentum is going to begin with summer, now you can get that foundation solid, okay? These are all the things that you needed, okay, to become very familiar, all right, with that emotion that can carry you. Water is the best conduit to like travel, right? Shout out to the air in planes and shit like that, right? But we not shipping trucks. Ain't nobody's goddamn airplane, right? But we can put it on a boat, right? We can put it in the water. So water is a good transit system for us, okay? We've always built our communities near the water, okay? So going near water, becoming more familiar, getting the feel of it, right, is all essential to the process, okay? Because once you've got your foundation set up in your fourth house, your fifth house is where you can go ham and do it because you enjoy it. We talked about the fifth house earlier a little bit in this process, right? Now to go even deeper, the fifth house is the house of feeling good, enjoyment, amusement. We have Leo here, okay? Now Leo take his strong voice, strong, passionate, charismatic, gotta have it bold and ass in the fifth house, right? And we're doing it for the sake of I enjoy it, or authentically, this is what I want to express in the moment, right? So, and I want to go through this a little bit quicker, y'all. Okay. So once we go into the 5th house, right, of our psychological process, now we're just doing it because it makes us feel good. We're amused by it, right? We are enjoying creating it. Okay. I don't want to get it too twisted and make it like rainbows and cotton candy too much, right? Because the other aspect of like, sometimes we're in our processes of doing things and generating, because this is where the sun resides, right? The sun is a generator. It's going to grow whatever you shine the light on, right? Whatever you entertain, okay? Whatever you put your focus on. And sometimes we put our focus on things that make us feel good when we're generating it, but once we reflect on it, like with the moon, right? Once we reflect on it, sometimes you got to go back. We have day and night for a reason, okay? Once you reflect on it, if you know, there's something not right, there's a feeling that's off with it, right? You can't put your finger on it, although you're generating it, although you're in the sun. And I'm thinking about this metaphor for some reason. It's just hitting me, right? Like when there's a lot of light being shined in your face, like, I mean, you can see when you're shining the light onto something, but when you get hit with a whole bunch of motherfucking light, it can be hard to see. Like when you got a big bright ass light in your face, right? You can't make shit out, right? But the person on the other side of that could probably see. Okay, so the moon in the nighttime is necessary for the sun, which are just like the day and the night, the ebb and flow, right? I'm gonna go out in the day, get active, generated. At night, let me reflect on this shit to make sure I'm pouring into good things. I'm pouring into something that I truly want to be familiar with, right? I want to teach this shit the right way. And I like to teach astrology, or to at least talk about astrology in a way where it's not just completely compartmental, so that we can get the full picture of how all this shit is working together. So boom, I've identified what I want to do in the 1st house because I value it, because I love it, because I desire it, and I want to acquire it. So now I've learned about it in my 3rd house, right? 2nd house value, 3rd house learning, 4th house pouring into the foundation to become familiar, 5th house going ham and creating it because I enjoy it, and ultimately I refine it in the 6th house. We talked about Virgo before, right? Mutable earth, along with Mercury. We just analyze what's useful. The things that we find useful, cool, we can keep. The things that we don't, we can go ahead and get rid of, right? This is that last time with the warm season. We can really get ourselves prepared to go into the cool season also, where it's also as well. All right. Now moving along, we get to the 7th house. This is the external aspect, right? Now that Virgo has materialized at the end of our summer season, right? All that energy we put in from the 1st house to the 6th house, right? The 6th house here. Now the external world gets active, okay? Now some choices are going to be made. We're going to be in the outside world, collaborating, making decisions, choices, partnerships. And these are the partnerships that are going to take us a long ways, right? So you definitely want to weigh your options out with Libra, which we talked about Libra before, right? Libra is a very diplomatic sign, right? It definitely is about the essence of attraction that Venus has naturally, right? Venus is a very pleasant sign because it's about pleasures. Venus is trying to get what it wants, and it understands that you're probably trying to get what you want too, right? So partnerships that work out in a harmonious way where we both kind of getting what we want work. Partnerships where we not really getting what we want are harmful sometimes, right? So you definitely want to make the wise choice when it comes to your partnership, because ultimately it's going to lead you to the 8th house, that inheritance that we talked about before, right? So I don't have to stay too long on this, but I'll just say that the 8th house is governed by Mars and Pluto, transformation, as well as that force and motivation to transform things so that you can arrive at the destiny. And this is what Scorpio embodies. It's also very keen on the awareness because of it's an inheritance, right? So if I'm trying to transform my body and I want to build more muscle, right? I already know that I need to be eating more protein and kind of working out and doing those, muscle building routines to transform, right? If I want to transform and have better financial habits, right? I need to maybe make a budget and look at what comes in, my income, right? And what's going out, my outcomes. So I can have a better financial outcome, right? So basically, it's just that awareness, that keen, sharp awareness that Scorpio can kind of tap into, because it's able to truly honor what it takes to transform, right? But moving along, right, once we see what's behind this door and we inherit, right, from the choice and decision that we made, now we can experience it in a worldly way. This is the 9th house. This is Sagittarius. This is where Jupiter comes in, right? Now, Jupiter is the wise teacher. Worldly experiences hopefully will offer us more enlightenment, right? But if nothing else, we can learn from the experience on whether or not we want to continue to do this, or if this is like a cool idea, right? Because after the 9th house is Sagittarius energy, which is the mutable fire, right? The last time we're going to see fire in our creative process. Now this fire, okay, it's going to get put out. Because we've had the experiences from the world. We were able to take it far enough from our first house to actually experiencing it. Now winter sets in, okay? And winter is a whole different kind of season because there's no fire involved at all. And winter is about the solidification of things, okay? Now we can just do the last little bit of building that it takes to get us to the top, right? The GOAT status, right? And this is where our reputation is involved, because this is our public life. How people, so everything, like, again, when you were starting out with that seed, okay, if nobody was around you when you were gardening, they don't know what you're growing. 10th house is like, now I see, okay? And your reputation and what you show up in and how you show up in the outside world are affected here. Capricorn is here. Saturn is here. Saturn is the planet of rings because it deals with reality. Rings show that completed cycle, right? Like how many rings are on a tree lets you know how many years it's been alive. This is kind of dope, right? So reality, what we really working with, right? What it takes in reality to make things work, okay? For a businessman, it looked like a businessman, right? This is like the 10th house energy and aspect, okay? So having your business in order, setting up the structure for what you build, and also your legacy, okay? This is like what winter is defined by. After we do this as well, we're in the 11th house, okay? Where we've done all the work that we can do. We're sitting at the top. We've summited the mountain, okay? Now it's just about what we hope and what we wish for. Everybody does this in their process, right? Once I've done all the work that I can do to the situation, right? Now I'm just going to set it up like, man, this is what I hope and wish to see in the future. I got the degree. People see the status. They see this diploma. They see the certificate, right? Now I'm hoping and wishing that this is what takes me to the next level in my career. I'm hoping and wishing that I can make the associations that I need to so that I can get with the right people, right? Because this is also about friends as well, okay? I might just be hopeful and wishful and thankful for the people who helped me get here, because shout out to the doctors out there. I done seen some of the shit y'all have to do. And the research, there's a reason why there's not a lot of doctors in the world. We need more. But there's a reason why they're not. Takes a lot of things to put in that work, okay? So sometimes you just want to shout out to the homies that stuck beside you, because you understood that it was the humanity from others that helped you get here, right? You know, we don't traverse you don't get this far by yourself, basically. So the friends that came along the way are recognized here as well. The hopes and wishes, right? The future that everybody wants to see for said thing. Once we get to our 11th house, though, right, in winter, okay? Now, it's a 12-step process. We're at 11, the last step of this whole thing psychologically, right? After we've hoped and wished for what we want to see in the future, the changes that we want to see come in from the thing that we have created way back in our first house, right? Now it's the ending, and what's being unveiled is how we feel. Was it the dream come true, or was it the delusion? Okay? Was it delightful, or did it disappoint? All right? It could go either way, right? When it comes to Pisces energy, this is how experience just works, right? Jupiter is here as well. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't talk about the 11th house with the planets. So we should talk about Aquarius being here, as well as the planet Saturn, which we mentioned with Capricorn and Uranus. Sudden changes. And that's the thing, too, about the 11th house, right? Like, once you get your wish and all of a sudden it hits you, you be like, oh, shit. You better be careful what you wish for, okay? Because sometimes that channel could just pop off like that, right? Are you ready? Sometimes that song that you did, like, can be that one. Get prepared, right? Because, you know, them sharks is coming, right? Make sure you have your business in order, all right? But yeah, just like sudden changes, right? Sometimes the car breaks down and you weren't anticipating that shit. Like, goddamn, let me call a friend. Yo, 11th house, boom, all day, right? These are just a few of those examples. But the 12th house, okay, when it comes to Pisces. Oh, okay, goodness. I talked about a lot, and this is a longer video. So if you are at this point, shout you out, okay? You are hearing me explain numerical Astro-Alchemy. And we're talking about the process and the philosophy again, just to kind of remind and put my brain back on track, right? Because I can get a little distracted too. But to put my brain back on to put my brain back on track, right? The 12th house now is the endings. Things are going to be unveiled here, okay? How things ultimately makes you feel in the end, because that's what endings bring. It brings a sense of emotion. If you watch the movie, a lot of times movies are kind of more emotional at the end, like the person got what they wanted, so you're happy, maybe sad that the movie ended, right? So it's kind of like this sway of emotions, this mutable water. Or the movie sucked, right? You hate that they wrote the character out like that. Empire was one of those shows. I was into Empire, and the way that they just started killing motherfuckers off, I was like, oh my gosh. But it really was trash. But sometimes entertainment can be trashy, and that's okay. It's allowed, okay? And sometimes we like our trashy entertainment. Some of y'all like baddies. I don't like baddies like that, okay? But I would watch Empire. That was my shit. Jussie Smollett fucked it up, though. Anyway, that ain't this conversation. Let's talk about the ending so we can get to our ending, okay, and get up out of here. When it comes to the 12th house is the house of endings, okay? So ultimately, it puts us in a state of emotion and how we feel, okay? Now, Neptune is here, which offers inspiration. And it's funny, right? Because a lot of times of how we felt about something in the end, that inspires the next action we take for the next cycle, okay? Because just like this ended, something else is about to begin, okay? That's the cycle of things, right? Mother Nature shows us as well, okay? So now if she cycle back around, you know, maybe we can revisit. Jupiter is here as well. So Jupiter is about wisdom, right? And if we're going to revisit something, sometimes it's about the experience so that you can take away what you learned, right? You can see how far you came from the beginning, from your one. Think about where we were at when we were first starting watching this damn video, right? To where we are now. Goddamn. I done dropped some seeds now, okay? Drop plenty of them, all right? Now, I did say before this might be the only astrology video that you ever need. Absolutely not, okay? I'm marking myself real good, all right? I think something like astrology should definitely be something that you sit around with, because what you realize is that it's not just you studying it, right, which is a very Mercury aspect. It's really getting out there in life and in the world and seeing how life truly works, right? In the end, how you feel this intuitive knowledge of understanding how cycles work and shit like that, right? And those things are the best teachers. So the experiences that we receive from the world and ultimately realizing things to the end, right? That's an important part of our process and our philosophy, right? Is getting to the end. It's something about crossing the finish line, right? And God even says too, right? If you go through these processes, right? But you got to go through the process. You got to go from 1 to 12. You got to complete the cycle. All right. You can go through the process and you'll be able to make choices, decisions that will ultimately lead you into what you inherit based off this alchemy, based off the 1 through 12, adding up to 78. Right. And these ultimately are the things and the choices, right, that you inherit from what you create from your first house and what you want to enjoy, right? God wants you to go out here and create and enjoy things that you yourself want to enjoy, right? And be fruitful, because Virgo is the harvest. And this is the ultimate alchemy of the 12 houses, right? Virgo is the harvest. I am getting a little tired, y'all. I'm moonlight at night and I'm like, I'm gonna do some content, right? I'm doing content every day. I want YouTube and these channels to put me into the algorithm, okay? So I'm gonna be doing content every motherfucking day, okay? I'm finna start going live soon in a bit, but I definitely wanted to make some content regardless, right? And I'm melting, as you can tell, okay? But if you made it to this point, hopefully what I said made sense when it comes to this system, right? All I'm just ultimately saying is that if you are into astrology, which you get, right, the 12-step process or the house process where the zodiacs reside that we're familiarly known, right, with and familiar with, right? These zodiacs are part of our philosophy. There's a reason why Leos are just gonna be bold, okay? They're gonna be probably you know, more down to have a good time than maybe somebody who is a Scorpio, okay? Not to say that Scorpios aren't down for having a good time and having fun, right? But a Scorpio might take things a little bit more serious because they about what's on the inside of this inheritance, bruh. You know, they might be the friend that you need if you worry about a setup. Because they gonna look at shit real. They got a keenness for it, okay? Keep you a Scorpio friend if you can. Because they temperamental. No, I'm kidding. And this isn't like to boo-boo or, make fun of nobody's sign, right? Because we do that a lot in astrology, and sometimes it'd be like, oh, they're going to tell me Virgo's worried. They're going to tell me Sagittarius is a wow. They're going to tell me Libras are always falling in love and lying and shit, And there is a level of that, right? But I don't think that that's just about what astrology is, right? Astrology truly is a system, and it shows how our psychology works and how it all collectively works together. And when we can show that to people, right? I just feel like it gives more empowering momentum into the aspect that we really are the ones who are in control of our destiny. Well, that's what this all is all about in showing, right? That 7 and that 8. We can make the choice that will lead us to the destiny that we inherit. And I'm making the choice every day to go after the things that I know I should be doing, that God's called me to do, the things that I desire, the things that I've identified that I enjoy, right? And I'm going to go after it. I'm just going to be fruitful and see what the harvest looks like on the outside of it, right? Because if you put good seeds into Mother Earth, she's definitely going to grow beautiful things for you, right? And that's all the poetry I got for now. That's all the preaching I got for now. That's all the speaking that I got for now, okay? I think I said a lot. And if you got to this point, thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm doing this guerrilla style right now. I'm going to get my computer fixed or whatever like that because I'm just going from the phone at this point. But I'm like, let me just get more familiar and get more comfortable with having discussions about this system of numerical astro-alchemy, okay? And let me stay with it. So if you are here now, you are early to the program. You are early to the party. Thank you so much for joining. We homies. Okay, I send a message out to the universe and you responded, so I appreciate that. On the love of you watching it, right? But if you want to go a little bit further than that, you want to like the video, if you want to subscribe to the video, if you want to share this with somebody who you think might find it interesting as well, please do what your spirit is in the energetic frequency of doing, okay? And if nothing else, if this is where I leave you, and if you made it to this point, again, thank you so much. But I'm just appreciative of this moment. So all that being said, I will come back with some more content, and I'm going to finish as well the oppositions also. I haven't finished the alchemy of the oppositions, but my spirit was like, let me do this one first, right? Let me throw this one in here. So I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna name this too, but let me do that work on the back end. You all take care. Until next time, bye.